All right, grab a seat. Before I begin, I'd just like to take a few minutes, not so long.
Minutes.
Okay,
Short. I said short.
I'll take a 1 AR, 2 AR, just to thank a lot of people who have been really, really integral to my debate career. So I come from a school that does not do server debate, and all of this really started with Rebecca Kwong kind of pulling me and my teammate Rebecca Gelfer from the UND camp, and she was incredibly supportive, and none of this would have been possible without her. Some other people that I have to thank throughout my career, Marshall Thompson, the amount of help that he's given me is ridiculous, and the only requirement that he puts on me is that I read philosophy. Sometimes I think that's a bit ridiculous, but you know. And the last, I also have to thank my coach this year, Akil Jalan, Chris Tice, who's been the wise sage during this tournament. They've made me go to sleep early, they've stayed up late for me, and none of this would have been possible without them. And I know I'm maybe missing a lot of other people, like a bunch of friends who have been with me throughout the entire year, like Cameron and Nick as well. But my parents also have been an integral part. Everything has come out of their pockets. They've always been really compliant, really cooperative, driving me to and fro. And so none of this would have been possible without all the people who have made this experience just as valuable as it really is. So I'd like to thank all of them. Sending out the 1 2. All right, just tell me when everybody's ready. Is it? Mm-hmm. All right. Ready? By focusing on the thug instead of the gun, white America neglects the state's role in creating violence. Vote after rejecting anti-black framing that blacks are doomed to criminality from 13 brackets. For clarity, white Americans don't like guns, but a subset of the population. It's mostly a matter of thugs killing thugs, but many seeming thugs carry to protect themselves. If two people carry confrontation with one dead and the other in prison, their problems do not occur in isolation from the manifestations of society. Bad guys might not become such bad guys if they had not been available. Evidence in our site, Red Phillips, 14 brackets for clarity. There were 1,800 related killings in 2011 from considered that there were 11,000 homicides with firearms. The number of gangs has been on the rise with an 8% decrease in gang-related homicides. We should not see rates moving in opposite directions. When examining states with large problems, gang homicides only cover 29%. The CDC also found the proportion of homicides resulting from gun drug hate was consistently low. Furthermore, 2005 study found that nearly 5 offenders did not have 3 in 5 offenders did not have failed conviction. 2 firearm criminals become violent in the presence of firearms. In gun street crime, omnipresence of guns in cities torn apart by discrimination, poverty creates an ecology of danger. This fuels an arms race for self-protection and dominates social interactions, guaranteeing a fragmented community stuck in a cycle of violence. Fagan and Wilson, 98, we examine the effect of omnipresence gun norms and behaviors in the ecology of danger. Actors presume the guns are present. Behavior is regulated by knowledge that life could be taken away at any moment by guns. Guns play a big part in feeling of personal safety. The ready availability of guns is undoubtedly shaped by code source expectations of legal laws, and also set the values of violent behavior in the social currency of the neighborhood. Displaying a willingness to take life as part of the process. Prevalence of guns coupled with rapid socialization shape perceptions of danger. Most young males have guns. Guns are available to just about anyone who steal them through associates, family members, or dealers. Boys are being socialized with gun use in the street. Presence of guns has shaped the rules of fighting among teenagers. Fair ones no longer dominate conflict resolution. Many involve some type of gunplay, firearms, trouble, logic. Once introduced it as life or death, the main strategic move for a board was to take the first shot. Many events reflected these among the reason for the original seem minor. However, once known to play game into future violence was motivated by getting justice, and surrounded by gunshots, children are doomed to a cycle of poverty and violence, rape, and all of 2 children are exposed to gunshots, experience psychological effects. All of these efforts can make youth more prone to violence. We continue cycles that inner city Philadelphia reporters had heard gunfire, whether it had seen someone shot exposure was correlated with a more anxiety, depression, lower GPA, and more absence from school. 19% just wished them they were dead. And gun violence kills in 2010 was 6,000. Pew Research 13 brackets for clarity. In 2010 there were 11,000 homicides from firearm energies. Blacks were 55%, but 13% of the population. Now, the text, the USFG should instruct the Treasury Department to ban handguns under the authorities for regulate unsafe consumer products enforcement. Its normal means violence policy. Center 2030 years of gun control legislation failed due to ad hoc nature to which gun control legislation has been enacted. The contrast of legislative approach begins with the recognition that guns are only consumer products in America, specifically exempt from health and safety requirements. Congress should vest the Department of Treasury with the strong authorities to regulate the design, manufacture, and distribution of firearms. Authorities should also include the ability to review the marketed firearms that pose a serious threat to public health and safety. The damage wrought by some products can be controlled only by unequivocal products such as 3 rules. ATVs and lawn darts had death rates of microscopic in comparison of handguns, but were nevertheless banned. A clear-cut ban to ban handguns should be implemented, and the plan shifts responsibility away from shooters to manufacturers. This is key to gain national consensus. 1994, if the gun were treated as consumer product instead of a symbol of crime or an alien right, the country could break free of the emotion debate over gun control. Why have we been fooled so long by looking at the person who pulls the trigger, not the person who makes the trigger? If gun makers were treated like the pesticides, now reducing availability will decrease lethal violence. Taking in 2 adolescents easier carrying guns are larger scale exogenes, increasing crime availability, fueled increasing youth violence regardless of conditional, reducing availability, which turn reducing youth violence. We consider a ecology of dangerous behavior norms and fuel belief. These effects appear large enough to justify intensive efforts to reduce the availability of guns by American adolescents. A gun ban, reduce the availability of guns to supply side approach ski lawful age 2K criminals often seal rather than those who purchase legally. At least 500,000 guns are still legal. Also affects the price of guns and speed restrict availability. The supply of guns in the secondary market decreases, their cost increases. This will diminish teenagers building guns and teenagers can commit other crimes, decreasing legal guns, decreasing homicides. And a gun ban kills the illicit market. New guns are key progress. Well, research identifies 3 points. First, they rely on diverse sets of legal pathways. Organized trafficking exists, but is not predominant. They are attractive targets for enforcement. Second, new guns are disproportionately covering crimes, suggesting an important role for close to retail diversion of gun supply side approach, as well as supported by empirical evidence. In most comprehensive study ever conducted, flows out verifies causality. McDonald 3.2, the largest study ever conducted, found it clearly between fire regulation and fewer gun deaths. The team reviewed 130 high-quality studies conducted in 10 states over the past 60 years. The researchers came up with 3 conclusions. Users take the major legislation overhaul, restricting access associated with reduction of death, and individual studies seem to be better executed than preferred. 8 point is breadth. They've reviewed over 5,000 studies. B point is predictive capacity. The study cited either use cross-sectional time designs or compare trends in states pre and post law. C point is study inclusion. They include common negative authors like Clements and Mustard. B point is paradigm shift. They find evidence that the legislation that changes the gun control paradigm is more important, aka not just small gun control laws, and no substitute for case 931 has to down the viability of prisoners practicing likely a very likely small percentage of murders practically committed with long guns. It's more probable that some will turn to less than 2 weapons or be deterred. Long guns are obviously more difficult to conceal. Potential bunker wielding a long will cause everybody to handguns are more convenient. Now, the rules of balance goes to fray of that debater who best methodologically challenges structural laws. Smith 13, the exclusionary adversary debate discourages black students from participating in competitors' attempt to run by roughly abstracting from material realities that black communities deal with every day. Community norms have competitors do intellectual gymnastics with state party conversations, but the only constructive studies acknowledge the reality of present identify strategies to deal with the issues. Debate is not just a game, but a learning environment with libertarian potential. Skip the next card. And future narratives are a link. Predictions are actually value neutral. They're linked to inflation, hyperbolized, a sphere response, research is going hold the responsible Jackson 12. The doctors simply refute you are more likely to die from lack of healthcare than terrorism. The false issues in the media. Those are kind of talking about threats. This display is meant to consider the threats are serious. Danger is more exciting to media than stories about how poor people are discriminated against. Securities misdirection on ethics, and functions to distract you from constructing society that are real threats, convince you firmly afraid that you will keep military industrial complex spinning. Now, underview-based structures that consecrate as that's what will represent real alternatives to existing power structures. People frustrated with good rating ideologies trying to the left false field and abstraction is going to carry PTF for proposing realistic alternatives, thinking about their academic tenure, then producing change rule. This revolutionary is great friend for reactionary because they drive people into rating ideology. We never concrete for those we do critiquing toxic subject to ways that these things contain early secrets, early motives, how we do anything people are turned up production, how we meet these problems. What is the alternative you want to contribute to this for your story? I'll skip the next card and round down the rest of incredibly low probability and bets 0. 1 is Pascal's bugger, Karnowski 11. If someone explains threats to harm one person, unless you give them $10, it's not hearing more because it is more plausible in fact of prior life experiences. Pascal's mugging can be thought as a point in which claims the value actually A is widely outside prior life set experiences. This is simply a function of their enormous possible error in underground estimate making extravagant claim lots to be discarded and policy paralysis. Measure 83 in our yearning for free risk-free society, we may create a system that makes innovation impossible for the ones risking the society will become paralyzed to taking these resources and preventing action, denying opportunities, and improving the quality of life.
Can you mark and delete stuff?
There were no mark cards in the app, except for the very bottom part.
Yeah.
And Intermission, and then just this human card. So sad. Pretty good.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So how is the plan enforced? You give the Treasury the authority to declare guns a consumer product.
Congress has like congressional oversight where they can tell different.
Sure. I guess my question is like, how do you make people give up guns? Is it like mandatory confiscation? Is there buyback?
So our argument is that the gun becomes banned. Local enforcers might want to confiscate if they're seen. It's
so
just like lawn darts.
Let's say you're on the firearm registry, like you own a handgun, but it's at your house. Do they come to your house and take it? Do they just stop sales?
So the plan says that what happens is Congress gives and tells the Department of Treasury that they should ban guns via this justification.
Sure. So how do they actually?
So let me explain. So the USFG, first of all, just cuts off manufacturing of handguns. That's the first thing. The second thing it says is that obviously, if there are federal agents like the ATF, they would, if they saw a handgun.
Sorry, let's take a step back. You stopped manufacturing of handguns? That seems extra teeth.
That's definitely not extra topical. If the private ownership of handguns
is not banning private.
Yeah, if the private ownership of handguns is banned within the United States, then private corporations cannot manufacture them.
Wait, oh, okay, you're saying corporations own
like,
guns?
I mean, who else manufactures guns?
Let's talk, okay, so you still haven't answered my question. If you own a gun, do people come to your house?
I'm answering this question.
Okay.
first thing is that if it is a national federal registry and the ATF wants to do that, yes, they would confiscate the gun. The second, though, is on a state level, it'd be up to the state's jurisdiction.
Which piece of solvency evidence is specific to the plan mechanism?
I think all of them talk about that.
Like they're about the Treasury granting authority, or the Congress granting authority.
So all of these arguments talk about how a gun ban would be good. If you want to make
what were the solvency mechanisms used in your?
What do you mean?
I'm talking buyback programs or mandatory confiscation.
I'm so
which pieces of like your solvency evidence is clearly not about the specific.
It's about a gun ban.
It's about a gun ban.
I don't think there's any difference from the app. I think the app just has better enforcement mechanisms than most general apps. You can
let's talk about the solvency evidence some more. Which card says handguns specifically, besides just the Dixon 93 no substitution?
The Fagan-Wilkinson evidence.
Okay, where does that talk about a handgun ban?
I mean, it doesn't.
So it doesn't say handguns.
No, the Fagan and Wilkinson 2 evidence indicates that based on their conclusion, decreasing the availability of guns would be a positive thing for inner city crime.
Yeah, it says the availability of guns in general, not handguns.
Yes, but its entire study is about handguns. We also have
where, since you obviously, like, nowhere in the card does it say handguns, what do you mean the entire study is about handguns?
Okay.
It doesn't say that.
I mean, look, I read this. This is like a really long article, and I read the article.
It says guns use violence.
Yeah, dude. Not everybody in the literature.
I'm not just gonna trust you that you're.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we have good evidence in the Dixon evidence that indicates that a large amount of crime committed in inner cities is handguns, which means they're obviously talking about handguns.
The only card in the app that says the word handguns is Dixon, right?
I mean, let's do a control F. Like, I don't remember at this point. This is a new app. I haven't gotten to read it in a while. Okay. Oh, the first card, the from card, also says it.
Got you. I will. What part of the app is its structural violence specifically, which is the text of your rule of ballot? It seems like
you don't think inner city violence is
you just stop homicide.
Just homicide?
Yeah. How do you reverse like the structural problem?
Our argument is that guns are criminogenic and contribute to the overall structure that society has imposed upon urban cities that make it such that there is an arms race and they're forced to kill each other. How is that not structural violence?
I'll send it now. I have a little speech of my own. On behalf of Cameron and I'd like to take a moment to thank a lot of my great friends and peers in debate who've made this activity so meaningful for me. First of all, I'd like to thank the University of Kentucky and the tournament staff for hosting such an amazing tournament. I'd like to thank Beats for being a great mentor to me for the past 4 years and making this whole debate experience super, super meaningful. I'd also like to thank some of my other coaches who are also some of my best friends, Travis, Danny, Daniel, Jake Sonnenberg, who flew out for the weekend, which was super awesome. Also my teammates who came to the tournament, Indu, Connor, and Evan. I'm super stoked for you guys, and I know that you're gonna have great debate careers. And I'm super happy for you all. I'd also like to thank Harvard Westlake for letting me participate in debate the last couple of years. It definitely changed my high school experience, and this is something I'll never forget. I'd also like to thank Cameron personally for being the best teammate I could ask for. He's always pushed me to work harder and to improve myself, and we've been through lots and lots of tournaments together, and I can say nothing but positive things about it. Seriously, this whole experience has been awesome, and you've been an amazing friend and teammate. And with that, I'd like to send out the one and sleep. Almost. Okay, the order is to.
Hang on a second, I don't have this.
Okay.
You, Chris?
Yeah,
I just got it.
The order is to, then case, starting at the underview stuff, then just top down, and then a third off at the end.
Third off? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So is there a chance you do third off? Or?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's fine. It's like, it's weird. We need another sheet out just in case.
All right.
Yeah.
Everyone good?
First, critique the alpha rules and necessary survival strategy of trans people of color self-defense. They cannot rely on the police force. Article 13 is mostly trans people of color review get targeted through gun control laws, like laws or criminal laws, and criminal legal system that targets trans people of color, trans people disproportionate arrest, prosecuting, sentencing, and punishment. Trans people of color have been targeted for institutional violence, and they are particularly unlike the noble around the police for protection. Those who choose to have gun for self-defense should not be punished. Also outweighs the government's more powerful institution, more resources than individual gun violence. Even if the gun violence is bad, mass incarceration is larger and more versatile. And queerness and transness are the absence of capacity. The derelict object against which human relations are formed. Stanley 11. We're checking my waiting body. They target violent fantasies that desire like my corporal injury and feel everyday death and waiting for is produced through the negativity of force in the threshold of obliteration. The making of corporalities constituting social identity, meaning corporalities more often than not is levity is towards the fact that there's evidence that objects can need to resist structural objection, non-recognition, and corporal violence is their part with no meaning, no making criticism, the non-meaning history in their body. So feeling for a particular time about a place body time negativity against negativity that assumes our prior unity career disrupts this coherence as a collective negativity board of its subject, but and is object retroactively visible through the hope of a radical politics and anti-trans and queer violence is overkill. Rational legal methods cannot solve 4 and 13 overkill. See the violence and utility of violence and its ability to reproduce the pleasure that constitutes the physical death and not sufficient to achieve the direction constitutes the mutilates the body. The surplus finds that attempts an impossible existential objective approach queers out of time and out of safety and humanist interest to address the violations GG rights equal protection. Number 1 cannot rely on rational instruments resolving irrational dilemma. The horror of overkill that any situation would have to present outside of more response. So 1 and C, the alternative is a trans rape rebellion against the violent law that describes sex on the bodies as a precondition of subjectivity. The raging trans body can fundamentally underline the ontological category of the gender human subject striker. Sex trans racial experience would be the public transgress the gender schemata that determine the viability of body transgender races and queer theory for survival by mobilizing gender identities over strategic occupation range and able subject to new best for disidentification. Stigma becomes a source of transformative power gendering. Violence as a founding condition of human subjectivity and possibility of meaningful agency. This is how you start my work with monster as part of the life and redefine the life within constituting yourself on our insurance against a natural order. Solve the case Threats of contingent violence, they identify the ontological category of non-human risk, legitimizes the extermination of marginalized group corruption. This category is prerequisite. Otherwise, violence is that will second the disadjustas being blocked out, but lots of votes are other than the RT 421 currently being blocked. These are requires 60% votes are from no vote has been scheduled. The White House has been logging its proposal despite the vote among Democrats in the Senate. Many top Republicans refuse to support our proposed legislation saying any time the app is political self-destruction for Democrats. Your context definitely stolen since it is Congress explicitly authorizing church 15 politicians avoid hanging the basis of the position that they can exempting responsible donor from regulation. Politicians are allowed to advocate the government take their guns away. This political possibility. Republican Congress running behind background checks that handgun and on vehicles and roll back the gun industry blocks all advocates regulating guns in Israel. 15 nothing's like the change action on the violence is always possible in terms of constitutional policies before the appears that are left gun lobby preempted sort of attacking the anti-smoking activists used by changing federal state laws. One way to reflect every single one of the persons used out around the firearm industries and the PCST to sustain the veto liquid for 18 Obama administration for lobbying pressure on lawmakers keep the bill from passing both vetoes and enable the commander get some things that Congress Obama loses the battle have far-reaching and devastating effects on the U.S. world economies jeopardize the relations in the fight against IS. Cause of global war outgoes all no world is about to change war on terror, war with three terrorization creating major military for disaster for the region. There is a global aspect against IS fighting here to start other parts of the world. India, Pakistan, East China Sea, the U.S. will be first respond also ways that his first magnitude it causes worldwide structural violence and massive suffering due to poverty, environment, and degradation. They saw a couple thousand cases of homicide and also church cases were idealized as the strong autonomous sovereign and also creates post-war hierarchies where those at the bottom will be marginalized, also prioritize life existence of the prerequisite of moral truth and other values. Now the framing arguments at the bottom of the case, you say that documented evidence that predictions are bad for the entire app is also a prediction based on empirical evidence. Just because you have a couple of we link to your structural violence arguments. Also, we are not motivated by bad things because we say that the disapp turns case, which means that the SQO is a liberation strategy. We just say that the app is something worse. Also, we underestimate high impact scenarios, which means because we do think that they will never actually happen, so they're actually more likely to come true, which means that it is better for engagement to actually acknowledge that these risks will happen because it's worse for structural violence. Now, the bright evidence versus the link to the critique trying to tie us down as one coherent demand is the same as one sexual identity. Does not recognize that queerness is the absence of identity in the first place, so it begs the question. Also, your right-wing backlash arguments are non-unique. If we win the unique question that's happening on a massive scale to queer bodies and the status queer bodies in the status quo, also backlash is a form of victim blaming. It says that queer people should not try to liberate themselves because straight people will get mad at them and try to screw them over. It's also just to justify that the state is a good thing. It just says that coherent demands on politics are good, but also that means that they will always be co-opted because of serial policy failure, because of serial policy failure, and elites are in control of politics in the first place. Also, role-playing creates psychological violence and detective detachment from personal identity that causes imperialism. Frequently, the policymaker debate comes with detachment, especially with spectator posture because the distance themselves on the subject of the debate. We call for existing policymaking not only that colonial slavery is established replace the objective sense of policymakers imperialist sense linked to normative historical practice power that produce oppression discretion practice what it is or develop the system of promoting role-playing is an addictive form of self-simulation that breeds self-hatred and causes tyranny because we always externalize our agencies of the government, so we are never actually able to solve problems ourselves. Now, the case proper first turn a handgun big causes massive policing incarceration of marginalized groups. Gore 15 goes to fall means writing more criminals, creating more crimes, therefore creating more criminals, working extra criminals, must be full of racial prejudice, multiple police killings, and unarmed black men. Mine is the police operate with barely stopping them, never constrained for response to solving your massive incarceration of modern police subject these populations to control and a national gun ban becomes a massive increase in government militarization. That 15 federal law require national police action involving thousands of lawmen. Someone have to take the guns out of American hands. Elsewhere, sign guns require government force on a massive scale. Gun confiscation would have to be administered by force of our only middle country. The police can enforce Australian gun control scheme in the U.S. and there's also a substitution effect. Global 92 and handgun breeds are usually survival circumstances much more fatal. Australian Canada handgun homicide rate is lower than first the total homicide rate is over 100% greater. 30% of persons attempting homicide which from handguns so long total homicide rate increased 72% in handgun criminals said that they would switch to sawed-off shotguns. You say that criminals lie, but that we already takes that into account. Criminals 93 criminals would be highly suspicious of structural authority prisoners believe only might be set up to destroy their plan. The criminals said they would not substitute 17% of the criminals said that they would substitute only 30% substitution needed to increase attention homicide. There's worried rhetoric for errors choosing the driving criminal. However, the suspicion was also you should be extremely skeptical of the 1AC solvency cross-checks. It's pretty clear that literally none of your solvency evidence is in the context of handguns specifically and not in the context of your enforcement mechanism. Also, more solvency stuff. The U.S. does not have the funding or infrastructure to enforce gun bans. Banning is safe. Judgment is having government remove is not important in the future because the banning is like infrastructure repository law enforcement necessary to confiscate weapons. States have no system to inform of the gun bans. No one will comply. Anyways, kids are most others not comply with the ban. Owners will not register their firearms in free. Pays away for confiscation. Efforts to ban weapons are overwhelmingly ignored. The rate of compliance estimated at 1%. Sorry. Now the other probability arguments at the bottom of the app. They should say that you reject high probability scenarios. And that begs the question of whether you win the link chain of the dissatisfied in the first place. Obviously, if we win the link that is probable, also you should multiply probability and magnitude because that is key to real world framing. That's how we make decisions. You should not arbitrarily reject high probability impacts. More turns. Massive review of literature proves that gun control doesn't affect violent kids. In Alabama, 2004, U.S. National Academy of Sciences released its evaluation from 253 journals, 99 books, 43 government publications, and research failed to identify any gun control that reduced violence crime. The same conclusion was reduced by the U.S. CDC. Also, do not let him go for this big cultural shift. So I want to see in the next speech, because if we prove show that material violence increases, it means that we're most directly affecting those issues. Culture doesn't solve anything.
Okay, delete and reorganize.
Yes.
Yeah, once he was.
Oh, well, I just didn't read that. So,
Just, it doesn't matter.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
You
You didn't read this, you just analytic.
right.
I'll do the deleting because, like,
Sounds good.
yeah, you see that. Yeah. You have that there. This you did read, right? Alright.
No one will mark it.
No, this is mass review.
And then this one.
Organic, right?
No, I read it.
Okay.
That's all.
And then all this was there?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Is everybody ready? I want to start at the very bottom of the 1AC. You say that the Bryant evidence is a form of victim blaming because the argument says that trying to liberate ourselves will cause backlash, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
My
Why does this
argument
not-
is literally
So great.
people will get
Great,
mad if
great, no,
people
no.
try to be people.
I mean, I'll recontextualize that. I don't think that's the case. But why is
That
that
is
not linked to
definitely the
politics? Why isn't politics a form of victim blaming? Your argument is literally
because politics. The key is okay.
your argument is literally Republicans.
No, my argument
will
is
be like, nah,
literally
you don't want to
that
say
the
black
app-
people.
My argument is literally that the app will pass a plan that will lead to global
Yeah, and
warming,
our argument is
that's
that your method
we
of
don't say
engagement.
Republicans good, and politics is not an advocacy.
Oh, so we said white people good when they backlash.
No, the
There seems
key
to be
is
no-
no. The key
All right, what's
distinction
JASTA?
is that
What is
politics
JASTA?
is not an advocacy
What is
for
JASTA?
actively defending the U.S.
What is
interests.
JASTA?
JASTA is the deal with Saudi Arabia. It's a question of
Okay.
whether or not Saudi Arabia had any involvement in 9/11.
Okay, so what is the bill currently, like, if it doesn't pass, what happens? Like, does that mean we default assume that Saudi Arabia was involved? Is that-
Sorry, what is your
Like, if the bill does not pass, does that mean, like, Congress default assumes the bill, like, Saudi Arabia was involved?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. Really? Like, the evidence?
No. It's sorry. It's the opposite of that. Our argument is the bill will not be passed now. We do not want the bill to be passed. That will.
Oh, so your argument is the bill will pass if
No. Yes,
if the plan passes? Why?
because Obama's more likely to veto.
Wait,
Or, sorry, Obama will not be able to veto.
why not?
Your
You just
question.
stamp. You tell them.
No. The argument is the bill will not pass now because Obama has the capacity to veto. Our argument is that
And he doesn't.
you destroy Obama's political capital and ability to.
And when do
veto.
you establish that
There we go.
Obama's political capital is essential to him stamping the veto?
Wait, that is the let's see which part is that the degree for it
All right,
evidence. It
let's
says
do this.
that the Obama administration has the full court lobbying trust now on lawmakers to
Yes.
keep the bill from passing.
Obama's vetoes have kept him from getting things accomplished. Great. It doesn't say
Wait, no,
anything.
the argument is that right now he has
All right,
the
that's
power
fine.
to veto.
Let's talk about the
That's
critique.
what poll tack is.
Let's talk about the
and ban
critique.
destroys that.
Let's talk about the critique. Your Warren evidence seems to make an overkill claim. Where do you establish that all of society has overkill?
Well, the Warren evidence is pretty.
It describes what
That's,
overkill is.
No,
Where do you
that's-
show that
that's
that is?
absolutely not true. It
All right,
says
read
that
a line that
humanist
says.
interests are inadequate to address violations, i.e. of overkill.
Yeah, that's a claim.
And
I want.
examples-
That is based on the idea that overkill is something that is structurally embedded within civil society.
Yeah,
I
that
want
is
the
the
warrant
argument.
for that claim.
Well, the warrant. Well, there are a couple of.
There's no warrant in
No,
warrant.
there
Okay,
are. Wait,
fantastic.
that's not. I
All
wasn't
right,
about to explain it.
go ahead,
There are a couple
explain it.
different warrants. For example, the killing of Lauren Page, the killing of people.
So
like
the
Rashad
killing of
Brazil,
one
the
person
targeting of people
shows
like
that
Matthew
the
Shepard.
entire
No, it's
society.
not the killing of one person. That is literally our link argument because you
Okay,
refuse to recognize.
Where have you
that
shown a
as
single? Do you have a single piece of empirical evidence that says self-defense for transgender individuals is effective?
Okay, so I think there are a couple issues.
I want a piece of evidence. I want
The
a
article
piece
of
of
evidence says that even if it doesn't meet your criteria of effective, it's a necessary
That's fine.
survival strategy
That's fine.
because it's not. Like they're not going to be able to rely on the police or the state to help them. That's our argument.
Status of the alternative.
What do you want to do?
Unconditional on the side. Okay. What's the scenario for the war? Is it Saudi Arabia war or is it just war?
It says that multiple. Well, first of all, it says that the conflict would spread outside of the region, i.e., places.
And
like
why would
India.
Saudi Arabia have war with the United States? Because it's
No, the argument is that U.S. needs Saudi relations to be able to continue the spread of ISIS, which will spread to other places.
wow.
It's not Saudi Arabia war. It's Saudi Arabia.
All right. 40. What is going to be case, the disad, and then the critique. Case in the order of top down and then underneath.
All right, do one more time.
Yeah. Case, the disad, and then the critique. We don't need it.
So just top down.
All right.
You just sent that out.
Yeah, you sent the
Shoot. Okay. It's at the very top of the app, but I suppose you just didn't save it. All right. Is everybody ready? Yeah. Everybody? Yep. It's easy to construct the problem since it's rooted in anti-black representation of the blacks are not inherently criminal being two evidence for self-defense, that from evidence extended fake evidence gun or permanent genetically created arms for self-protection that socialized adolescents into lethal arms succession. This has multiple implications. First, answer substitution. They evidence for self-defense and will replace long live their two will be and inconvenient. You should also be skeptical that their prisoner service of the repeat felons are indicative of the people that we were talking about. Art developed some indicate that only 3 in 5 of those individuals did not have a felon status. Your survey is not indicative, which means even your answers about the percentage of do not matter. Also, answer self-defense. The expectation of death means flashing guns. The invitation to shoot response to retaliation directly impact turns. The critique indicates that you might not be able to rely on the state, but you cannot rely on the gun. And either the state exactly gives you the gun such that you create an arms race such that you kill your own people, which means that it is a bigger impact. Moreover, defensive gun use does not apply to life to save now. The impact gun violence kills thousands of blocks, communities, cycle poverty, crime. That's our rape evidence. The rape evidence also magnifies their impact exposure as psychological effects. A lot of children cycle crime. Thus, we outweigh substitution. If there are more fatalities or addressed by shootings now, this all is pretty clear. One is that fake proofs that like violence cause crimes, removing decreased death, reverse causal. Lafayette also shows that ban legal production is key. Illicit exchanges are supplied by legal sources, which means that we produce used assets because the supply is increased, which means that even if there's a current supply, it's irrelevant. Braga also answers your no compliance claims because it indicates that new guns are mainly recovered in crimes of unrecovered crimes will quickly become obsolete, and moreover, perception is sufficient. Advance mean that they're harder to purchase or see what shapes youth expectation of gunfire prevalence. Can you prove that those expectations are what cause crimes? Now, obviously, the case solving arguments that answers your argument about war, which because there's no guns to enforce the process. Furthermore, you've misunderstood the plain text arguments that we should ban it because it is a bad consumer product, just like lawn darts. It's not even criminalize it, which means that you interview these arguments actually impact your meta evidence has no impact, even if it's the case that you would have to go door to door because red sheet said, which means we confiscated, which means that ultimately there's not a large impact. Substitution effects already answer. You say be skeptical, but last you say that the United States will not enforce. We cut off manufacturing, which means that we collapse the NRA, but also that there are no new guns, which is the internal to our solvency. Now, the dissent. Here's the problem with the dissent. It makes absolutely no sense in context of the app. Our app says that congressional oversight will say that the Treasury Department should enforce the app, which means that Obama doesn't have to sign it, which means that Democrats within Congress who are the minority are not even part of the decision, which means that it would not hurt Democratic full cap, it would hurt the Republican full cap, which means that this argument of vetoing does not make sense. Also, your showing the evidence is terrible in this question. It just says that Obama needs political capital and that he can veto things. It doesn't make it link between those two arguments. Furthermore, your this scenario is really, really terrible because it says that there's a chance that Saudi Arabia might escalate or that our relations are killed. Saudi Arabia also needs to check against ISIS, which means that just because the bill does not, it gets passed, does not mean Saudi Arabia will not go. Furthermore, there is no war. Iraq 2012, the area may be war behind us. Major powers have been at peace for nearly 7 decades. Today's global politics are tempered by permanent organizations, relational, military alliances, formal economic partnerships, additions, geopolitical diplomacy issues, globalization, continues to transform the world. The interdependence has blurred the lines between economic security, physical security. Cut the card there proves that there will still be cooperation, that there will be no escalation. It means that our impact outweighs 6,000 Black Americans die yearly, which means that the impact over a decade is 60,000 longer even than that. Now, the critique here is the problem with the critique. The cases that impact turns, and that indicates that yes, you might be correct. They cannot rely on the state, but they also cannot rely on the gun either. Furthermore, our arguments prove that that is the act of creation that they want, so that your society looks like it is a criminal society, which justifies things like overkill in the first place. The case solves the impact. Furthermore, we do not say that we will criminalize them. That was the argument on Gorbachev, which means that does not link. Now, you say that there's overkill, but this is just a descriptive claim of what overkill is. It does not make a single explanation as to why all of society is like that, which means the permutation should be able to resolve the impact. Also, there's no reason as to why, just because there's a forced choice between whether or not queer should be able to have gun and whether or not queer individuals should be able not to have gun and protect themselves, even if it's ineffectual, does not mean the permutation is not solved. The fact that there are so many other policies that are anti-queer within the status quo means that if they cannot resolve those, then that means that the alternative is not sufficient. So permutation do both. We should rebel against the violent law that describes sex in the body, says precondition subjectivity, but also do the act to understand that the act is necessary to decriminalize or decriminalize the identity of Black individuals who are in those communities. The case also outweighs because it has a tangible impact. Now, I will do the extension of the Bryan evidence here. You say victim blaming. That also applies to politics. CX was pretty clear on that. But furthermore, the argument is not that you do not create anything. The argument is that you cannot create any substantial change. The one he's reading does not give queer individuals any possibility because their own affirmation of their identity does not translate into political actions, which means that they are still defined as a state by criminal, which means only the affirmative has the possibility of shifting the identity and producing it.
Yeah. Can you just hold this up?
Yeah.
All right. Should be. What are the answers to the garbage argument specifically? Besides you don't criminalize.
So I also make a case that weighs argument, and then the extension of the app would seem to say that we control the root cause because guns are carcinogenic in the first place, which means that we are the reason why there is a justification for criminalization of black individuals.
All right. It's going to be critique within case. And there's going to be a K overview. Yeah. All right. Is everyone good?
The one here massively misunderstands the critique argument is that queerness is a structural ontological position that cannot be resolved by rational legal procedures. If we win the ontology claim, it means that it's try or die for the negative. All of your arguments presume that practical legal solutions are a good thing or that working within the law is actually effective enough to create a cultural shift where people will stop where, for example, straight people will stop pathologizing queers or white people will stop pathologizing black people, but all of our ontology uniqueness arguments and that cultural shift is fundamentally impossible with the way that heteronormative civil society is constructed. So I'll extend those warrants here. The concession of the Stanley evidence is particularly damning. It says that queerness is inherently non-identity and cannot be incorporated into legal categories. Trying to have one static definition of queerness inherently leads to its eradication by trying to tie it down to something incoherent. It also says that queer culture is inevitably pathologized and eradicated in society, which means that all of your arguments about why people will now recognize people as not being criminals or how there will be a cultural mindset shift is the link to our argument, because your assumption that a legal change is sufficient to do that begs the question of who gets access to that shift in the first place. And all of our uniqueness evidence says that nothing the one AC does will ever do anything for queer people. The next argument I'm going for is Warrant 13 just says that anti-queer violence is gratuitous and a function of overkill. There are empirical examples that prove this. For example, the way that Lauren Page, Matthew Shepard, people like Rashawn Brazil were viciously murdered and then stabbed thousands of times past the point of utility means that overkill and anti-queer violence is not something that can be ever solved within rationalist procedures of the law. Your assumption that passing a gun ban will work to solve that violence is our link argument, which means that it is try or die for the negative, and there is no net benefit to the permutation. Now, the second overview I'm going for is role-playing bad. Fiat is illusory. The plan does not actually pass in the real world, which means that you do not get to weigh your quote-unquote material solvency impacts because you do not actually do anything to solve anything for anyone. However, you have conceded two distinct role-playing bad arguments on the case, which I will weigh here. These are a prerequisite for you being able to weigh solvency. First, you have conceded the Reed-Brinkley evidence, which says that role-playing assumes that you can just attach your personal identity for the political stance you take without recreates imperialism. For example, you force queer people to role-play their oppressors, or you put black people in the position where they have to role-play a colonialist legacy, which means that you do not get access to any of the 1AC case offense or any of the permutation arguments, because that already presumes that that is a good educational model. Your Bryant evidence also does not answer this specifically, because it just says that we need pragmatic strategies, but it does not say that role-playing the state is good, which means that this is an independent reason that you vote negative, and it was a straight-up conceded argument. Now, I will line by line your arguments. Your first argument is that the case impact terms because you solve criminalization. First, I will answer the empirical question on the case debate, but this is also our link argument, because nothing in the 1AC says that legal change is sufficient to solve that, and if we win the structural position or the question of ontology, means that you do not actually solve that. Also, non-unique ontology arguments prove that criminalization is inevitable in the status quo. Our article's evidence says that trans people will be pathologized no matter what the police do, and more police enforcement of a gun ban will lead to more pathologization. So you do not actually solve anything. This next argument, no, because you say no criminalization as per Gorovitch, but cross-sex was pretty clear that even if you do not criminalize it, you would still have to defend people going door to door to take away guns from people, which means that you still link to our Gorovitch argument, and I'll get to that more explicitly. Can't you say that overkill is just a descriptive claim? But no, it is not. It is a fundamental question of the ontological position of queerness in society. And even if you answer, and I answered that, I gave the specific examples of the overkill of an argument in the overview, but also your answer to overkill does not answer the Stanley argument specifically, which was never addressed, which means that no two are responsive to that argument. You said there are other policies in the status quo that all need to resolve, but there's no reason to include the app if there's no net benefit, and all of our ontology leak arguments are disadds to the permutation. It's not a question of the alternative solving everything, because fiat is illusory, but rather it's a question of the educational stance that you take in the debate round, which means that there is an obligation to reject every single instance, because that will always only criminalize queer people. You say you can't do both at the same time. This is, first of all, severance, because the text of alternative is to reject a legalistic approach, and you include that in the text of a permutation, so you would have to sever of legalism, which destroys the negative strategy and ability to respond. So I cannot make your arguments against that in the 2AR, but also I have proven that the apple's still linked. Now, the Bryant argument, first, this is the link to our argument, because your assumption that we need to define queerness as something that is coherent or something that is a static identity is that we'll always let it be co-opted in the first place. This also begs the question of whether your political activism is good. All of our ontology arguments prove that that is impossible in terms of solving structural change for black people. Also, the fiat is illusory argument still apply to this argument, which means that you do not get to weigh the case, and there's no benefit to incorporating your quote-unquote political strategy, because it will never do anything. Now, the case arguments, the framing, I'm going for the Gorovitch evidence, it outweighs the case because it's important the state is a more powerful institution than individual gun violence. Sure, you may solve a couple of thousand homicides, however, the prison industrial complex incarcerates literally tens of thousands of black people, and also is more powerful than individual gun violence. So when it controls the root cause, because it causes alienation and poverty and isolation from the communities, which you isolate as a root cause of gun violence. You have a couple of pretty bad responses. Versus that you do not criminalize, but cross-sections where you still would defend police agents going door to door, which means they would still arrest disproportionate amounts of black people, even if there is not criminalized. It gives the police an excuse to go into those neighborhoods. You say that you can control the root cause, but obviously no, the reason that police criminalize black people is not because there are guns present. This is the entire link to our criticism argument. It's about the structural position of people in society. Police will be racist whether or not you take guns away. You do not recognize that cops are so racist. You definitely not control the root cause. I've already answered that case outweighs arguments. Next argument I'm going for is the no compliance argument. You get literally no solvency on the case. Our case evidence says that like 1% of people would comply with a handgun ban in the first place, which means that all of your evidence assumes that a handgun ban specifically would be able to solve the vast majority of your impacts. So you can cross-apply my argument that none of the 1AC evidence is specific to handgun bans, just gun bans in general, and your own self-defense arguments say that people will be more likely to want to hold on to their handguns, which means that none of your solvency evidence actually applies. You only solve like 1% of the case, so they critique outweighs anyways.
All right, I had a minute, or what was it again? 40 seconds. All right, 40 seconds. the order is going to be an overview. That's going to, you can flow that next to where you load next extensions of the roll ballot, and then it's going to be case, and then it's going to be all right. Is everybody ready? You are right that the 2 error would have been super easy if I did not concede the role-playing bad arguments, but this is just making my law slightly harder. If we win the perm debate, then it resolves all of your impacts because it indicates that we are capable of both affirming our own individual agency without doing the nihilism or the political nihilism that you talk about in your role-playing bad arguments or the sexual violence, and craft those into demands that take material strategies to decriminalize black and queer bodies. Furthermore, you're relaying the evidence. At the very best, it's just a reason as why you should not automatically discard the alternative because it is not a policy option, but I am not committing psychological violence onto myself by affirming, which means my choice to engage in material argument cannot have a pre-fiat impact like that, which means it is not relevant. Now, if the app was role-playing, the permutation definitely is not. The key is unconditional, which means if I win the perm, it is sufficient. You also do not have a great link to the affirmative that explains why any policy can possibly hurt our debater's agency. Now, the last argument you have is a fiat is illusory claim. First of all, this was new in the 2 R. The 1 and C arguments did not read that. You said it was a simulation, which was not impacted for a reason. That's why the case does not happen. Our argument is pretty clear in the 1AC as well as the permutation, which is that the 1AC is a different political strategy. Your alternative is also illusory in the same sense because it only happens within this round. But the question becomes, as political advocates or as debaters in a space of libertarian potential, what is the political strategy that we should debate about and promote to the judges, promote as the best methodology for discussion? You see that it is one that says engage in a certain trans range. I see that it is a permutation, which means that the fiat argument is not in the cases that goes away. As long as I win, that is an important part of engagement. Now, to the case debate, you've only made 2 extensions. The first extension is the Gorbachev argument that says that they will criminalize them anyways and that they go to door to door. Here is the problem, which is that we do not arrest them. You see that it will give them an excuse? Of course not, because the plan does not give the people any excuse to arrest these people, which means that it does not solve. And the second problem here is that you conceded that the reason why people go to the prison industrial complex anyways is because of the criminogenic environment that they see. The fake evidence indicates that you created an arms race within each other, which will be a strong framing issue on the case debate. Now, the last argument you've said is the no compliance, but you conceded 2 arguments. The first is the fake and Wilson 2 evidence, which indicates that it is caused by perception. When you feel like every single person has a gun, that means they have to get a gun. But if you have a ban, it shifts for perception. That was conceded the 1AR. The second argument is the wrong evidence, which indicates that low compliance is not a problem because new guns are recovered, which means that over time it would be laid out, which means the case that was solved by the critique. Now, here is the framing issue. Even if I lose the ontology debate, it is irrelevant because the case and the 1AR goes for 2 arguments. The first is the argument about how it can shift the viewpoint of white people, but the second one is about if in that community, you might be correct that white people will always see trans people as something that is outside society. My argument is that the gut in the existence of them is the tactic by the white liberal state to infiltrate these communities with guns so that they are creating arms race such that they kill each other, which means the permutation is definitely better. I did not concede the all solves case argument because the impact turn argument that made in the 1AR proves that you cannot solve case if you include guns because it fractures your alternative. Now, the last argument you have conceded is the permutation results 100% critique because our permutation was do the app and do the trans wage, which hit solve, otherwise pass legislation that was anti-trans would not be able to solve, which means if the alternative is strong enough to solve for the case as well as the status quo, it has to be strong enough to solve for the inclusion of the app, which means the permutation is better to ensure that we have solidarity within our own communities, not fight.